Yeah, I'm in. Yep. Yep. So I will take care of this for you. Yeah, it's weird that you got that. I agree. I, 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 yep. Well, that is weird. And let me just see. I see you. Consume messages. That's weird. Okay. Participants. I don't see your name here, but can you see me? Oh, okay. Okay. Because I'm looking all over for you. I'm going, I don't see you. Yep. I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. I don't see any people in yet, but that doesn't mean anything. They sometimes, and we are now recording. So the topic tonight is 10 examples, titled 10 examples, successful small business lessons that you can apply. And I don't usually do this, but I've gotten a lot of feedback in the past that people enjoyed this. And Connie's from New Jersey. We're in New Jersey, Connie. I'm going to be there Monday. So doing some consulting up there. Okay. A few words about SCORE, just real quickly. Those of you know, but I'm doing my little advertisement. It's a national nonprofit. It's an all volunteer organization with free business advice. As you know, it's confidential, it's free. Its mentoring is one. We also have local and online business workshops like this one. And we have online experts and templates and tools. And we're part of the SBA. And it's a pretty neat organization. If you go to the website, you can pick your chapter by zip code, lots of things you can do. The local members let you request a mentor. If you happen to want me personally, you got to put it in there and put it in the note. It registers for local workshops, and I will share at the end the other workshops I've got going in the next year. So if you like this one, you can know that they're coming, and there's a whole set of resources and templates. And my background, if you don't know me, I've been a full-time MBA professor. Has tried retiring 3 times. That didn't work for me. That's why I won the SCORE. That's why I'm involved as an entrepreneur still. I teach full-time in an MBA program. And I had senior global responsibilities at Johnson & Johnson, Armstrong, and Standard Industries. You don't know Standard Industries by its name, but it's the largest roofing manufacturer amongst many things, but it's the largest roofing manufacturer in the world. And I've started a lot of companies. And actually today is going to be talking a little bit about them. And I do a lot of philanthropy stuff as well. I was over in Africa for 4 years building orphanages and schools and things. And it's been good. So the topic tonight, and Corey, by the way, I'm going to be in Morris County, so a little farther away from you. I'm going to be sharing 10 examples that frankly are very early in my life, but set the stage for me. There were things I used all through my career. And so it's sort of funny that they were from my young life, but they're things that you can apply, right? And by the way, I posted it. I'm going to post it again real quickly right now. If you want the PowerPoint to take notes on, now again, I'm going to be recording, but if you want the PowerPoint or the notes, you can just click on that and download, and you'll have the PowerPoint that I'm using tonight. I'm just curious, is that helpful to anybody? If not, I won't do that again. I've never done that before. So I'm curious in the chat box if that's something I should do in the future. All right. So let's get going. So let's try to agree. I want to make sure we're agreeing on the definition of success tonight. Okay, so you tell me if this would be fair. Would you agree tonight would be, can you copy and paste it? I would have thought you could, if you hit the control button and then enter, it should work. All right. In fact, I just got it to work. So hit the control button and enter, and you should be able to get it. Okay. So I'm hoping to inspire some of you tonight. All right. And I did put the link in the chat, Maxon. One, talk about entrepreneurs and how we're different. Two, can you copy it? Or and did you try, I don't know how else to do this. Or can you try hitting control and link? If you can't, I don't know how to help. Sorry about that. If someone tells me how to turn on permissions, I'll do it. That works in my university. I guess it's not working. I'm going to talk about lessons you can apply. I talk about attitude that can make or break you, and I'm going to talk about strategic targets. All right. And I apologize that link concept didn't work. I'll have to figure that out for next time. All right. So there's going to be 4 themes tonight. One is entrepreneurs. And talk about how it's about the heart and the head. It's passion. I'm going to talk about things I wish I knew earlier in life and some lessons from baseball. I'm going to talk about, to be successful, I believe at least, you got to dream beyond money. Live a purpose-driven life. I'm going to talk about innovation. I'm going to share some recipes that have worked for me in starting new businesses, starting new products, starting new various things. That's what we're going to do. So, start with the importance of passion. Entrepreneurship's about both the head and the heart, right? The head is going to tell you every reason to be pessimistic. We are wired to be pessimistic, most of us. So the heart's got to come in. And the heart is that resilience that puts off that pessimism and then wants to dream. Passion becomes the fuel. Passion is what keeps that heart pumping to overcome the head. But the reality is, and this is why I go into it, every entrepreneurial idea I've ever seen, every new product I've ever been involved in, there are 10 reasons not to do it, only one major one to do it. Be careful about that. As Richard Branson said, there is no greater thing you can do with your life in your work than follow your passions. And in a way, he makes the world a little better off because you were there. All right, some lessons from baseball, right? Key lesson from baseball is the difference that small things make. So let me assume I got an outfielder, decent defensively, and pick any major league team, Tampa or Miami or, whatever. If they're hitting 280, they're making millions, whether you're in baseball or not. They're making millions. They're hitting 230, frankly, they're pushed down to the minors, lucky to make 25, or they're out of baseball. Here's the math. That's only one hit at 20 at-bats difference. Making millions, we're out of the game. And for most outfielders, that's one hit a week. Small differences make big differences. So what does this mean? As an entrepreneur, a small business person, don't wait for the perfect pitch. If you wait for the perfect pitch, by the time it comes, you're probably not going to swing the bat. And here's the reality of life that I found. People only remember the runs you batted in. They forget your strikeouts. Babe Ruth, more strikeouts than anybody. What's that mean? Don't wait for the perfect pitch. Swing the darn bat. And secret of great versus good. I think it's first is discipline. And what's discipline? I learned that in high school sports. I learned it as a professional musician early in my life. It's doing what you don't want to do and doing it anyway. Two is it's resilience, right? Resilience. What's that mean? We're all going to have failures in our life. Take those failures and put it behind you. Put it in the past. Resilience. It's not taking a punch. We're all going to take punches. It's how fast you get up off the mat. And it's use your head. You can't feel the difference of one hit at 20 at bats, using the baseball analogy. So you got to use your head on what you think is probably true, because you're not going to be able to just gut feel those differences. Does that make sense? That helped anybody? That baseball analogy, small differences, find the groove. Don't wait for that perfect pitch. Jasper, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. All right. All right. 2, dream beyond money. Focus on personal value. Here's the issue. If you chase money, you're likely to be a loser. Here's why. There's always somebody that you know that's making more. So if you're basing life on how much money you made, you're always a loser. 2, if you love what you do, you'll likely succeed. Why? Love it. You'll be more focused. You'll be more disciplined, doing what you don't want to do and doing it anyway. When you take a shot, when you take a hit, and you're on the mat, you'll get up quicker, more resilient, get back to it, and you're fulfilled and more valuable. Be purpose-driven. Most people, my experience in life, are takers. Be a giver. Be a giver. Because karma's real. With my little kids from age 4 all the way up through high school, the first thing at the dinner table, who did you see that looked like they might be having a bad day? And what did you do about it? Who do you think might be having a bad day? And what did you do about it? Why? Because I wanted my kids to be givers. I wanted them focused on other people. So, a couple of formulas here. The first formula that's helped me a ton is this formula here. And it's how people really buy. And this is based on a lot of work we did at Johnson & Johnson, millions in market research. And the formula is this. People act based on an experience they want to avoid, first, priority, and then the experience they want to gain. So therefore, the question is, first, what do they expect? Because you first have to be acceptable before you can be special. People rule you out before they rule you in. They rule you out before they rule you in. So you first have to be acceptable. And after you're acceptable, you now went from, for example, with resumes. I got 50 resumes. I don't read 50 resumes. I scan 50 and get it down to 5 or 6. But you read carefully. Then the 5 to 6, you focus in. And once you focus in, you're part of the inside group. Now what makes you special? And what makes you special is what they wouldn't expect. And Connie and Jasper, it sounds like you got a total conversation, nothing to do with what we're doing tonight. So if you want, maybe take this outside. So those of us, which is 48 of us, and you're all on stuff that has nothing to do with this, that might be nice. So maybe you guys could take that outside. It's up to you. Anyway, the key is a formula. What do they expect first? And then what wouldn't they expect? And I found research, the strongest word we had in marketing and sales, whatever, is the word even, because it sets that up. Here's what you expect. then even, and then what you wouldn't expect. So here's an example. How did my team invent Reach toothbrush? Oh, we said, what do people expect? Healthy gums and remove debris. What wouldn't they expect? Well, those cavities are actually on the back teeth. The solution, bi-level bristles, right? They get in under the gums, healthy gums, and remove debris. And it's angled like a dental instrument to get the hard to reach back teeth. Jasper, thanks for your opinion. We can have different opinions on that, but we have 49 people on here and people read the chat, and it's usually polite to stay focused, and you may have a difference of opinion. And that's okay. That's what makes the world. All right, Formula 2. Formula 2 is in testing things. Ask myself, what's the gap between the intensity of the desire that they want to avoid a gain? And two, how big is that gap versus how unique your option is? Right? And the wider the gap, whether it's a $5 item or $1 million item, more value. Let me use an example. If you wanted to own a mouthwash, you probably want to own Listerine. Why? Well, they sell the most and gets one of the highest price. Now look at how they use this formula. Intensity of desire. Halitosis. I didn't know what halitosis was, but I certainly didn't want it. Unique. We taste terrible, but we kill halitosis. And then when that wore out, it was gingivitis. Ah, certainly didn't want gingivitis. Avoid a gain. And again, tastes terrible. Now, wider that gap, and I've used that formula on over 1,000 products that I've been involved in launching through my career. So there's 4 questions you want to ask about products, company, whatever. 4 key questions when you come up with what you want to do. A, is it a real need? Right? 2, even if it's a need, will they buy it? 3, can we make it? And 4, can we make it profitably? And those are the 4 key questions. I hope those make sense. All right. Anyone have any questions so far? If you could write in the chat box, it would be great. I'm going to stop for a second. Is this helpful? Are you enjoying what we're doing? Okay. Thank you, Michael. Anybody else? Fair? Dana? Good. I'm glad you appreciate it. Even if some people think I'm inappropriate, that's okay. Not everyone's going to love me. That's all right. Okay, 2 formulas. So, what about Martin Luther King? This is important. He had said, have I got a great strategic plan? You think there'd be a holiday named after him? I don't think so. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean don't have strategic plans. You want to have plans. We're going to talk about it. But what you share, the plan isn't what's going to energize customers. The plan, frankly, isn't going to energize employees. The plan isn't going to get people that you sell to, part of the value chain behind you. The plan isn't going to get suppliers excited. Sell the emotion, sell the vision. Now, however, I'm guessing he did have a plan, right? What are the implications to you? Why have a planning process? Well, first of all, it's sort of like a discussion, a healthy discussion where people are, sharing. And it's the process of discussing what we might and might not do is key. By the way, one of the most important things in a strategic plan is not deciding what you're going to do, Well, the most important thing is deciding what you're not going to do. Right? Oh my God. Just please. Being disruptive, it's not helpful. Please. 2, have a plan. The process is the constant. It's what leaves it in place. 3, the constant, what's going on is always challenging. But the reality of plans is you're not a constant. You got to keep adjusting them. So yes, plan. That's not what we're trying to go with. So I'm going to take you through a bunch of lessons I learned early in my life. They applied in business when I had global responsibilities running billion-dollar companies. And it's going to start with age 10 and foundation through 24. Any questions so far before I go on? Any questions? Any thoughts? All right. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. All right. So what was my first business? My first business was at age 10. Let me tell you about that and the learning I got from it. It was a company that we used to pass on the way to the store. And they sold educational stuff to teach elementary school kids. And back then, you know, at age 10, I was taking buses to get my skate sharpened with free transfers. I was riding my bike everywhere. And one day I go, oh, educational equipment, educational toys. I'm going to go in and talk to them. I'm age 10. I said, hey, can I buy from you and resell? They go, what? No, we don't sell retail. We only sell to schools. I said, would you sell to me? I'm a 10-year-old kid. They go, and I got permission. So I went to a place sort of like Odd Lot, right? It was a place that, you know, salvage stuff. And I bought 5 briefcases, old suitcases. And I got my friends together and I put these items that I got from this educational place that only sold to schools, and we put them in the back. And starting October, we went door to door, all of us. And if it was a grandparent, you know, do you have any kids or grandchildren? If it was a grandparent, we said, let me ask you a question. Have you noticed, you know, around Christmas, you're buying all these gifts, but you're wondering, is it just junk? Are they learning from it? Yeah, well, you know, we have a line of educational toys that are typically only sold to school systems. But we got special permission. We can sell them to you for your grandchildren. Or if we can see there's plenty of toys around parents. Yeah, I can see you've got kids. If you wondered at Christmas or Hanukkah, we just buying junk. And wouldn't it be great to buy toys that, frankly, most people can't get because it's only sold to schools? And that was my first business. And what did I learn from it? Look around, ask yourself, what problems, what things do people worry about? They wish they had a different option. And ask for favors. You didn't have to be an expert. Key is swing the bat. Okay? Swing the bat. Second business, age 12. Tie-dye shirts were really big, right? Tie-dye shirts were really big. So financials, it's the back of the envelope. Didn't need detailed models. A shirt would cost me $1. Production was $1. Supplies were 50 cents. Half hour of the client was $1. Cost me $3.50. And selling price is $5. I'd make $1.50. My margin's 30%. My markup's 43%. Well, what was really going on here? Well, I noticed guys like me were scared to do tie-dye shirts. They were scared to get their hands in, but the girls loved doing it. I'm going, this is awesome. I'll have the girls do the production. I'll make it easy for the guys to sort of say what they want. I'll get this business going. And by the way, this was the best deal I ever had at age 12, getting dates and getting to know girls. Okay. And there was a question in there. Great question. What's the difference between margin and markup? That's a great question. And frankly, it's interesting, Dana, that the Harvard Business School book up until 1980 had this answer wrong. How do I know? Because I told the professor the book was wrong. He didn't like the fact that I said it was wrong, and he made me prove it. So I got letters from, at the time, Macy's and Bloomingdale's on what margin and markup is. So let me explain it. Markup is taking my gross profit, in this case, $1.50, and dividing it by my cost, which is $3.50, right? So my cost is $3.50. The $1.50 is 43% of $3.50. That's markup. Margin is the cost relative to the selling price. Okay, Dana? So it's always using gross profit. Markup is using the gross profit related to my cost. Margin, gross profit related to my selling price. Does that help? And they tell very different things, and a lot of people mess that up. And by the way, I was involved in one contract years ago with Kmart that the buyer messed it up and it cost Kmart $2 million. Thankfully, that guy was a jerk. So I didn't mind that he got in trouble over $2 million. Right? Good. So that's business too. So what's the lesson? The lesson is financials, when you're doing estimates, it's a best guess anyway. So sometimes going into more and more detail isn't worth the time you're putting in. Sometimes back of the envelope numbers are all you need. And I've seen in business, I can tell you in a business where I was involved in a multi-billion-dollar company, I was C-level, right top making decisions. There were some $100 million decisions that were so obvious back in the envelope, we didn't run any fancy models. That might have taken weeks and weeks and weeks. Lesson. See if the back of the envelope would give you a different decision than a very detailed analysis. And if you say at the end of it, it wouldn't change the decision, don't waste your time. Right? Next lesson. I call this hidden money. And this was about work ethic and working smart. So I'm now 14, and I was the poor kid in the rich town. I was the only kid in the entire town that worked after school and didn't have a racing bike. Back then, boy, did I want a Raleigh Grand Prix in the worst way, right? I wanted that racing bike. It was $114, I still remember, right? So I'm working in this grocery store. I'm the only kid in the grocery store that's in the high school. And I'm watching, and back then you had these cash registers, and I'm watching them, noticing that the people at the cash registers, there were several, if they dropped coins on the floor, they just kicked them underneath the table that was holding up the cash register. And I watched that for a couple of weeks. After a couple of weeks, I went to the owner of the store and I said, I'll keep doing the bagging stuff, but if you give me a small raise, I'll also do a cleanup at the end of the day of the whole front of the store. And I asked for a 50-cent raise. And he gave it to me. And I started sweeping every night, including under the cash register. And I made more money from under the cash registers than my hourly pay. He is. Look around. Work smart. Look for opportunities. There's always stuff out there if you're curious. Be the curious one. Next one's age 16. So at age 16, I was in an orchestra that represented Southern Maine, Southern New Hampshire, all of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, part of Connecticut. And I thought there was this woman there. I was a percussionist. She played bass, and I thought she was awesome. But I didn't have a vehicle. So remember that educational toy place at age 10? Well, I went back because I noticed their van was always in the parking lot from 5 o'clock on every day and all weekend. And I remembered from back when I was younger that the people in the front office used to complain that the guys in the shipping room wanted to get out at 5. So some of the orders that came in after 3:30 didn't get out that day. And the ones that came in on Friday definitely didn't get out the weekend. So I went in, asked if I could talk to the owner. I talked to the owner. I said, I want to make a deal with you. I noticed this about your vans. What if I came in every day at 5 o'clock and packed and shipped and got all the last minute orders out? And do that Monday through Friday. And on Saturday, I'll come in the morning and get every order out and everything that's coming in late and any shipping that's coming out. And in exchange, I get to use a company vehicle and pay you 16 cents a mile for the use. You'll have better customer service. You'll have less hassles. It's a win-win for everybody. And he said, I'll go for that. What did I learn there? Look for win-wins. Most business people look to solve their problem. I start with who's got a problem and can I help? And then if they have a problem that I can help, is there a value for me helping? Again, I carried that attitude through my career. Age 19, I'm now at Babson. Some of you may know Babson's rated the #1 entrepreneur school in the country by U.S. News and World Report, probably for the last 40, 50 years. So I'm now at Babson, and I take a course, sign up for a small business entrepreneurship. And the first day, the professor hands out Harvard Business School books. I'm going, this is crazy. This is a small business course. So I went to the professor after the class and I said, Professor, do we really have to use textbooks for this course? He goes, well, do you have a different idea? I said, yeah, let's as a class, 40 of us, start a for-profit business and let's start a nonprofit business and figure out how to do it. I said, okay, let's take a class vote tomorrow. And class goes for it fine. And we did. And to this day, that company, because we designed it at the end of every semester, it got sold to the next group of students coming in. What's the point? Experiment. Reading's great, but acting's better. Plan, be flexible, pivot. Next business, age 20. So I got hired to work for these entrepreneurs and we sold paintings, right? So paintings and frames. And I learned this business, right? And so what did I do? Well, first thing I did is, and by the way, we're selling in the thousands of paintings. They were decorative paintings for homes, right? So I said, first of all, where am I going to put these galleries? Well, when and where do people like to buy paintings? Ask yourself that question. Where do they buy? They tend to buy on vacation. I said, okay, where are people vacation? I picked out all the vacation spots that have high traffic from New Jersey all the way up through Maine. And I said, okay, this is the key. Who am I going to hire to manage these? And I thought about, and this is what's key, think about the customer and think about what they're thinking about art galleries, right? What are they thinking about art galleries? And tell me if this isn't true. They feel intimidated. They feel talked down to. They're worried they might not know what they're talking about. They get all these worries, and all they really want is something that's going to look good in the living room, in the dining room, the couch. That makes sense? That's what they're looking for. And that's what they're afraid of. And that's the experience. Remember, people avoid experiences they don't want, act on that, and experiences they do want. So what did I do? You would find me every Saturday morning in like a Macy's or a Dillard's or a department store like that. And if you looked for me, you'd see me hiding. And what was I watching? I was watching the cosmetic section. I was watching the perfumes and the makeup and whatever. And I was watching for that one person that day that was really comfortable with customers and really made them feel comfortable. And I'd walk up to him after watching and I'd say, you were awesome. I've been eavesdropping. I'm just curious. My guess is you're making about what, $8 an hour? You go, yeah, in that range. I said, how would you like to make up to $50,000 a year? And he looked at me like I was crazy. I go, doing what? I said, I would love you to manage one of my art galleries. And they say, I don't know anything about art, but I'd say, I don't need you to know about art. I can teach you enough about art. Here's what I do need. I need people like you that make people feel comfortable, that they can talk about their living room and their dining room and what colors go together and what happens. And by age 21, I had 32 art galleries. Every single one of them, the manager came out of a department store. What's the lesson? The lesson is business has less to do with expertise in most businesses and more to do with the relationships. It's generally easier to teach expertise in your business than it is to teach relationships and attitude and those kind of talents. And that's what I learned there. And I also learned it was easier to sell 4 or 5 paintings than one. Because every time someone needs to make a decision, like decorating a home in this case, every decision is risk. If you bundle it as one decision, it lowers risk. I learned a few things. Create collections, bundles, it lowers overall risk. 2, focus on the talent of people and their ability to do the job and not worry so much about teaching the expertise. That's generally easier to teach. What was the next one? Next one is I'm noticing late 70s, I notice people are lined up at jewelry stores selling their gold and selling their coins and selling the things like that. Oh man, that's fascinating. Actually, no, different business. I'm sorry. Page 22. We got all these art galleries going. And by the way I kept people working in the winter, because we made the money in the galleries in the summer, right? The way I kept them going in the winter is we run operations at like Hyatt's and Marriott's and whatever, and that was designed to just break even. But we knew how to run those kind of things. So I'm watching these people selling all their gold and silver. And I'm saying, or buying gold and silver. I'm going, this is interesting. And I'm talking to people because I'm curious about the gold market. And here's what I learned. You may know this. Here's what I learned. Gold is not sold by design. Gold is based on weight. So I said, okay, everyone sells it on design. People are afraid of buying gold because they don't know what they're getting. They don't know why it's priced the way it is, and they don't understand all this stuff. What if I sold it by weight? And the second thing I learned, Italian gold is what's called plum gold. It's actually a higher percent gold than American gold. It's better gold, right? 14 karat means 14 parts per 24. Italian gold is plum, so it's always more than 14. American gold is usually slightly less because it only has to be 13.6. I set up a business selling gold by weight, and it took off. Millions. But then what happened? Well, all of a sudden, gold prices took off, and I'm seeing people lined up in New York City at jewelry stores. I'm going, okay, what can I learn from this? What are they selling? They're selling coins. They were married in the divorce wedding bands, selling stuff like that. I'm saying, okay, an individual jewelry store, back then they weren't chains. I'm going, how could I beat them? How could I do this much better than them? So what are people worried about? The first thing I notice is if I went into a market, I could set up 8 locations, say around Baltimore, and the jewelry store may have 1 or 2 locations. So I could leverage advertising as a huge competitive advantage. The second thing I noticed is that the people coming in didn't come in initially with much of their stuff. Why? Because they're afraid of getting ripped off in the parking lot. So while everyone else is paying by cash, I only paid by check. The business boomed. We did 40 million in 10 months and netted $10 million. The clergy were sending people to us. Police were sending people to us. Friends were selling people to us because we were the ones you could trust. What did I learn? What are people worried about? What are their options? And how can I create competitive advantage? So next one. Well, now there are huge supermarket chains. And I noticed, huge supermarket chains, I noticed 2 things. One, the independent supermarkets now had a problem because the big supermarkets were using leverage like I did in the gold business. And the second thing I noticed is the second largest newspaper in all of New England didn't take cigarette or liquor ads. Well, opportunity. So what did I do? I went to a grocery store and had 16 stores who couldn't compete with the big stores up in New England. I said, if you guarantee me the inner 8 pages of a newspaper, I'll be able to do advertising for you much lower than you've been doing. Then 2, I got this guy named Eli, who was very well known in the Boston area for sports, and he did a Dear Abby of sports, which brought in the liquor and cigarette. And within a month, I had 80,000 circulation and making money. It worked. What did I learn? Study what other people are doing, copy it, then improve on it, and then create beyond that. And I think the last major one, second last one I'm going to cover is now I go back to grad school because my partner had skipped the country in the gold business with $10 million. And now I'm at a major university. I'm going, how am I going to make money here? So I noticed there was a newspaper that went bankrupt up in New Hampshire. I said, oh, they must have a typesetter. What was a typesetter? Back then, resumes all looked the same. What if I could make it in various different types, sizes, bold, not bold, whatever? I went up, bought the typesetter, came back to Virginia, huge university. I'm now in the career counseling business. That paid for most of graduate school. I need a little more to get through graduate school. So I decided to manufacture needlecraft kits. What did I do differently? Most needlecraft kits were sold to needlecraft stores. I said, okay, where's the focus? What are people really into? I said, well, one is college universities. So instead of trying to sell through stitchery shops, I sold to college bookstores and I sold college seals. People would go in and buy as gifts. The second thing is I went after the Masons and I went after the Knights of Columbus, 2 of the biggest brotherhoods in the country. That got me through most of grad school. Still not quite enough. And then the economy was collapsing. A lot of people are now unemployed. So a friend and I said, let's start a seminar business on how to open a consulting practice. And what did I learn from that? Opportunity, find it, and fear motivates action. And I used all of these through my life. At 10, don't worry so much about expertise. Swing the bat and figure it out. Financials. Sometimes back of the envelope is plenty. Work ethic. Work smart by being curious, not having to work harder. What else? Look for win-wins. Who else has a problem that I can help them solve? Constantly look for other people's pain and then see if you can solve it and win by that too. Value. Learn about value. Plan for it, but be flexible. Pivot quick, fast. Don't get stuck. If it's not working, pivot. Constantly ask yourself, do I persevere? Do I pivot? Or do I close the idea down? Hiring. Find and reward talent. Focus less on experience. Strategy. People rule you out before they rule you in. You first have to be acceptable and then show them how you're different. Research. Your basic research should be focused on what are they worried about? And versus their other options, how can I make it so they worry less? Research and development. Copy what's always working and then improve it. Resources. Don't wait for the ideal. Work with what you can get your hands on. Analysis. Jump in what I call black holes that no one else is serving. Needlecraft kits in college bookstores. And opportunity. Often the best opportunity is when you get people to act. And fear of something, of an experience, is one of the biggest motivators that creates action, gets people to buy. Has this been helpful so far? A little feedback? How we're doing? Awesome. All right. So, what are the big picture lessons? What's typical, people search to how to do something right. What worked for me? Always looking for how can I do it in a different way. 2, attitude. What's typical is people look, they love to win. What did I learn? Look for people who hate to lose. What drives people? Typical is, how can I build wealth? What worked for me? How do I make sure my life has purpose? That the world's a little bit better off because I was there that day. Jane asked a question I see there. Jane, if I'm understanding it right, is please talk more about straight lines and circles. Okay. So what I mean by straight lines and circles, it's a way of thinking. All right? Way of thinking. Engineers tend to think in straight lines. I solve this, I move to here. When I get there, I move to the next one. Circular thinking is very frustrating for a lot of people, but it ends up usually with better results. Circular thinking is constantly telling a story that's holistic. If I do this, this happens. If I do this, this happens. If I didn't do this, this is going to happen. If I do this, this happens. Okay, what could go right and what could go wrong and how can I improve it? Okay, let's try it again with a slight difference. Okay, let's try it again with another slight difference. It's constantly circling back and saying, yeah, it makes sense, but what could go wrong and how could I make it better? Did that help? Jane, did that help answer that? Awesome. So, at the core, some things to consider. Be resilient. You are likely to take punches in your life. If you haven't yet, you probably will. The key to success in life is your ability to get off the mat when you get hit hard and put the past behind you. 2, visualize where you can be successful, where you can help solve someone else's problem. Most buying, not all, but most buying is to avoid something. Visualize success. And if you notice for all of this, you're more likely to find success where other people see risk. I actually look for businesses to be in that other people are frustrated by. Where other people are frustrated is always opportunity. 3, love what you do or quit and go do something else. 4, first step in all of this is not how do I benefit me, it's who can I find that I can help? And if I can help, well, can I do it in a way that I'm better off too? But it's secondary. Next, find the black hole. And the black hole is all about first, what do they expect? That makes you acceptable. But value and profit is based on the unexpected. Give me an example, another product I was involved in inventing. We wanted to get into toothpaste. Okay, what do they expect? No cavities, healthy breath. What didn't they expect? Well, people hated going to the dentist back then because your gums are bleeding and they're chipping away or whatever. And we came up with a formula, and this was the new ad. We said, you know, you probably hate going to the dentist. Remember, avoid an experience you don't want. Your family probably hates going to the dentist. But tell me it isn't true. You want a toothpaste that prevents cavities, and we got fluoride in it. We do that. You want a toothpaste that's got fresh breath, and we put a mouthwash in it. You've got that problem. But we've got this special ingredient that prevents tartar from building up. And tartar is that stuff they're chipping away when you go to the dentist that makes that visit awful. We call it Colgate Tartar Control Toothpaste. Unexpected. And then lead, whether it's through customers or employees or whatever, by engaging people, not demanding stuff from people. And remember, that's the key. Help them visualize the dream. Have a plan. Talk in terms of the dream, the benefit. We can all avoid this. We can all gain this. So if you're interested, I have other programs on the agenda. And most of you, I hope you consider, I've never had an experience like the one tonight, ever. I've got one coming up October on your elevator pitch. I've got one on public speaking. I got one on business plans. I got one on selling, especially for the people who hate to sell. I got one developing value, branding, in products, whatever. I got one on branding, and I got one on leadership coming up. So if this is helpful, that'd be great. So the question is, I hope for a lot of you, probably not the ones that are much more interested in AI today, but I hope for a lot of you, you found today successful. Because we said success was how entrepreneurs are different, lessons you can apply, about your attitude, how to break through, and strategically how to do that stuff. And again, the recording, I should have it in an hour and a half or 2. If you send an email to that address, I'd be happy to send you the video of this. And again, whatever you want, I sincerely appreciate your staying. I sincerely appreciate a lot of you supporting me. It was challenging, and I hope I got through that okay. And again, I want to thank all of you, and I hope I'll see you at some future presentations and maybe invite some of your friends. Good night, everybody. Appreciate it.